Chris Lovell and the head coach of the Lubbock-Cooper Pirate basketball program, Will Flemons. This is another edition of Pirate Talk. You can follow Coach Flemons' program on Twitter at BasketballLCP, and you can follow all the athletics going on within the district on Facebook at LCISD. You can search for that, LCISD, the YouTube channel. We're going to stream everything and a lot of their games. And I just wanted to give everybody kind of an update with Coach Flemons and his program kind of before the craziness starts, Coach, of the season. But take me through kind of what this time of year looks like for you guys, because here we are toward the end of September, right, and everybody's in football mode. But before you know it, basketball is rolling, and you guys are already working out and all those things. But kind of take me through what this time of year looks like, Coach.
Well, right now we're just trying to get a great foundation. We're looking for some definitely positive things to go throughout this year. We got a great nucleus right now with Conor Gant and Hayden and Tommy. Those will be our three seniors. And Amari's an up-and-coming junior. And then you got Dane has been playing awesome. So it's been one of those types of situations. We're working on fundamentals. We're implementing a little bit of our offense. We're trying to get the ball up and down. We're not going to be as big as we have been before, but we're going to really get the ball up and try to use our guys' skill.
Do you still talk to Coach Myers much? Jeremiah, that's when I first got to know you way back when, as just kind of a tech student and all that, and following the Red Raiders and stuff. And you played for a really good coach and had a great career at Tech. But did you still talk to Coach Myers?
Every once in a while, and it's still one of the great minds of defense. If I have a defensive question, I have no problem calling him, and it's there. He's just sharp, and it's fun because we'll talk about something and he'll go, "You remember this, Will?" I'm like, "Yes, sir, I sure do."
Yeah, and you can't. Have you ever spiked a sports coat like Coach Myers could? Yeah.
Hey, not at all. Hey, I'll tell you one of the funny stories real quick. We're playing and it's at the Coliseum. And Coach Myers, he ripped off his jacket, and he's going around there, and he's talking, he's marching, and all of a sudden he slips and falls. And we're like, ooh, you don't know how to react as a player. You just look, and then he split his pants. And so we tell Coach, it was early. Coach Evans was still here. Coach Evans.
Rob Evans, yes.
Coach Evans, Coach just split his pants. So Coach Evans gets up and tells him, "Yeah, get away." He just pulls his jacket around and just ties it up. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen many of those sport coat spikes before. That's good stuff. Did you always, when you were playing and everything, did you always know you wanted to be a coach? This is kind of what you wanted to get into and be around kids and the sport for longer?
Long time.
Okay.
I knew I loved the sport. I knew I couldn't play it for the rest of my life, but I wanted to be a part of it. And what my coaches from junior high to high school to college has impacted on me and has shaped my life, I knew I had to give it back.
Yeah, pay it forward, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's just nothing like being around kids and sports, man. Oh. It's a rewarding lifestyle. Yes, and rewarding. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, I get that too, but because coaches are. Kids, when they grow up, they look back, and that's just like you're saying. They remember their favorite coach or things that coaches taught them, just like you did with Coach Myers and all that stuff. How hard is it for basketball when you're at these schools that the football program is really good? Because you're waiting for some of your players to come over, and you're just kind of, handcuffed. But this is not just a Lubbock-Cooper problem. This is a kind of a high school basketball problem, just the way that the calendar works.
It is. I mean, we live in the state of Texas first and foremost. That's football's king. And growing up, I played football, so I understand. It's one of those things. It's a great problem to have because you want to support all your programs. We are a family. When they say Lubbock-Cooper family, that's what we mean. Okay. We're going to support. We go out and we watch. We want them to go as far as they possibly can. But when football's over, we're bringing them into the hardwood, and we're trying to get them acclimated as quickly as possible. So it's one of those things where we want our kids to be successful in everything they touch. And if they're on the gridiron, be as successful as you possibly can. When you come here, we're going to try to make the same thing happen. We want you to be as successful as you possibly can. It starts to become contagious, and that's what you want. You want it contagious. We're growing rapidly with kids coming into our district. We need to make sure our sports are doing the same thing.
And you guys work with the other coaches so well, and I know other coaches work with you guys well and support multi-sport athletes, which is sometimes not always the case, depending on
Correct.
where you are.
Correct. Here, like I said, Chip's the head football coach. He has a basketball background, and that's awesome, and he understands. But I mean, it's not just his kids coming to basketball. They go to football, they go to soccer, they go to baseball, all those things. And again, he has that shared vision. We a small town. That's the best thing about it. We're big, but we got a small town feel to it,
Great way
and
to
that's
put it.
awesome.
Yeah. You ever have a bad day?
I
You laugh
do.
as I ask you that, but yeah.
I do, but one of the things that makes me smile the most is, where the kid is doing everything we ask him to do, or he's messing up on every drill. We get an opportunity each and every moment with these kids to impact them and to impact them in a positive way. We don't stay with them at night, so we don't know what their environment is. And so, if I can give them something positive each day to come home to after this, I've done my job, and that's how I look at it. We're very blessed. I tell everybody's like, same question: are you happy all the time? I get up happy because first and foremost, thank God, I get to see sunshine.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so, and I just again paying it forward. Our kids are our future and our foundation. We got to make sure we get a positive impact on them.
Your team motto this year, I thought is kind of interesting. Take me through how handle hard better, because I think if I'm grasping that, you coach them hard, and you want them to handle that and not bad body language and all those things, but like take that coaching and like use it and not take it personal. But kind of take me through the way you're.
Well, I think one of the true things, and I love basketball, and you know that. It's not only a basketball thing, it's a life thing. You're going to come into contact with challenges, whether it's on the hardwood where I'm going to push you. Some days I'm just going to pick on you. I want to see where you are. I got to know that I can count on you. It's just like we always talk about the officiating. It's not always great, okay? But you still have to play the game.
Yeah.
And if you get a couple of bad calls, you can't show the negative body language. You can't, to the crowd, poor me, because we're taking away from the team. What's bigger? Team. So we got to be able to handle hard better, make that negative turn to a positive. And just like life, we wish we can go out and say, okay, my first job, I'm gonna make $250,000. You can't do that. Yeah. You got to start somewhere. How do you get there? When you get that opening, do you go, oh, I'm here, or you continue to work? Is it going to come easy? Absolutely not. But you have to find a way to make it better.
Have they grasped that? Kind of starting to learn.
They're starting to learn.
Okay.
Just like the last week, we had a couple players that had great practice, and we had a couple players just, everything they did, you have those days, wasn't going right. And I'm looking at them, and one dropped his head, and I stopped practice. Why? Tell me why. Is this the end of the whole day? Is this the end of your life? No, it's not. Okay, you had a couple bad breaks. So what? That's just like getting knocked down. Don't stay down.
Yeah.
Get up, knock off the dust, and let's get back at it.
Love it.
So that's what we do.
So when you guys, you've kind of selected some varsity players here. You're waiting on football to end to kind of add to it. You've kind of picked some JV guys and freshman guys and all this stuff, and again, waiting for football to end before you can get your entire group together. But one thing that you do, I've never heard of before, that you do with your varsity guys specifically, is you will go visit them in their home. And you kind of sit down, and it's a back and forth, but you kind of lay out expectations and all that. Take me through where you learned that and how that works. I think it's fascinating, and it's an awesome thing.
When I worked at Tech and under Coach Dickey, and it was just like going in signing a student athlete. But when you go in, you want to talk to them. Most time, you see the glamour shots. They're signing, you take the shots. But what about the work is done behind the doors? When I go into each one of my varsity players' home, I meet with their parents and them. We talk about a contract, and the contract's very reasonable. Our expectation of how we want our program to go, and then we get more in depth. This year I had 5 goals, and it was all blank, and I said, all 4 of us are going to decide on what the expectations are. I said, I'll be totally honest. If I don't agree with it, I'll tell you why, and I'll explain why. And the same thing, if y'all don't agree with it, explain why. I said, but this has got to be a mutual thing. I want everybody on board. And so we go in, we're talking about leadership. How are you going to lead please tell me how you're going to lead. So they go into what they think leadership is. And some of it I agree with, some of it I don't. I said, to me, leadership is not always about barking or chirping. You can't do that.
Or scoring the most points.
Scoring most points. You got to make sure you're playing that role where, what about if that player's down? How are you going to pick that player up? How about when your game's not going best and you're on the bench, what are you going to do? That, to me, shows character and leadership. Now, if you go through this situation where it's like you're picking everybody up and everything's going well, great, awesome. But what happens when you find that detour in the road? How do you respond?
Life lessons.
Life lessons. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things I try to do, and we go step by step. We go for anywhere from 3 to 5.
And this is mom and dad and player.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Okay, yeah.
Absolutely. We involve the whole family. Okay. And, because one of the things we talk about in the contract is, we got a shortage of rests. We got to have I want the parents there to rooting for their kid. Every once in a while, the ref's going to make a bad call. Say what you're going to say, leave it alone, don't harp on it. Don't just go from that end to this end. Okay, we understand he made a bad call. All right, but now let's get back positive. Let's continue to root for our kids. And that's the thing, keep it positive.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, and I think how much have you learned about players that you wouldn't have known otherwise by getting into their environment where you don't have them and you see this is what they're grown up in and all that? Probably pretty enlightening.
It's very enlightening. One of the things I remember, my son, my oldest son, we took him to
this is Colin?
Coleman.
Coleman, okay.
And we took him to a Duke camp, and he had a fantastic camp. Coach Krzyzewski came over, we're talking, whole 9 yards. And I asked him the question. I said, I'm a basketball coach, and I do this, and I go into homes. And he goes, I'll tell you what, I don't care how talented they are. You can tell 5 minutes how they interact with their parents if that's the player I want on my program. And same exact way, and I tell my kids that. I was like, my deal is I came from a single parent home, but my mom was the boss, and she was the queen, and you're going to treat her that way.
Okay.
And that's what I look for when I'm going into home. I like to see the parents and the kids interact, because that, to me, I'm like, the way you're interacting with your parents, I know you'll be able to interact with your players that way. Now, if you're going and you're being a butt to your parents, we're going to have problems because it's not going to fly with me. So,
yeah, mic drop. Yeah, that's right. You added Coach Reich to your staff, James Reich, and you played with him in college.
Yes.
And I think it's a very unique setup. And Coach Reich been around Tech and then now back in Lubbock. But what has he meant to your staff and your program and all that?
See, a lot of people don't know this, that Coach Reich and I met in high school. Okay, he's from Haskell, and I'm from Paducah, small towns. I was getting ready to be a senior, we're playing, and so he makes it down to state also at Haskell. And I would go and watch the game, and he's doing everything he possibly can to keep him in the game. I mean, he's doing the Kobe Bryant at the elbow, catching, fading way down. I mean, just shooting lights out. And they ended up losing that game, but he did everything possible. And so we got to be pretty good friends and started talking and got a chance to know his mom and dad. And then, lo and behold, playing up here, he comes on, he walks on up at Tech. Guy I know, small town, 2 small town guys. And we've been friends ever since. To this day, his 3 daughters call me Will the Man. They think that's my name. Hey, Will the Man. James, quit brainwashing him. But with his experience, his expertise, absolutely, he's still one of the best shooters. I tell all our players, I'm not gambling, man. I'm too tight with my money, but he's like, I'll bet Coach Reich can not shoot anyone. And they're like, no. I'm like, well, shoot against him.
And then, doesn't end well for the young ones.
Not at all. I just sit over there and just laugh. I egg it on. You know how that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about your schedule here. I've got it right here. So, and we'll kind of link it up in this video and everything like that. But when you're trying to put a schedule together, what are you trying to do? Test your team, get your team out of town. I mean, kind of take me through all the dynamics of putting a schedule together.
Okay, so the first one on our schedule is Tascosa. I know Coach over there. He has a 6'6" guy that's pretty good. Got a couple of guards. So what I'm trying to do for us right off the bat, we need to see where our metal is. Where inside we got to have an inside presence, and we got to be able to guard from the perimeter. So that's a start.
And I noticed that game's at Lubbock-Cooper Middle School. Take me through. Yeah.
When we started out, we were going to have it at high school, but then we got volleyball regionals at our school, and so I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lose a home game. We'll just go across the street.
Yeah, it's across the street. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but I mean, you're playing friendship, which is Coach Page over there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And in several tournaments before district starts, Amarillo High is on your non-district schedule. They were pretty good last year.
Yes, they were.
And you saw them in the playoffs. But you've really stepped out there and tried to test yourself a little bit here.
Absolutely. Well, you think about the tournaments. When you're going to a San Angelo tournament, you can face any teams from San Antonio to Dallas to any possible team there because they all flock there. When you go to Amarillo High, and I got a couple of teams from that district, the first round of playoffs, we play that district. So I want to make sure I'm familiar with all those different schools. And then we go to the Midland tournament. If we're fortunate enough to get to the playoffs and get past the first round, we're going to play on El Paso schools. And they've got a lot of El Paso schools in the Midland tournament.
So it's all strategic.
Absolutely.
And then the Caprock tournament is just
brutal.
Yeah. But it's such a fun event around here, right after Christmas, between New Year's and all that. And it's just basketball from 8 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night.
Yes,
in about 10 different gyms in the city.
It is.
Which has just been around here for a long time. The people that do it, and Cooper has been nice enough to be a part of a host site for that. So. Does your people may get confused about this because I had Coach Hill on one of these podcasts, and we were talking about that. Football's district is sometimes a little bit different than your sport and her sport and Coach Lovern's sport. Is your district, how different is it than like last year compared to what Chip's having to go through?
Last year football was in 5A Division II. This year they're in 5A Division I. We've always played the Division I schedule.
Okay.
And so we have all 3 Abilene schools. We have the 3 Lubbock schools. And so pretty similar to what football is doing this year, with the exception of, I think Amarillo High, that type of thing. But we got Amarillo High on the schedule. So it's different for a couple of teams, but same competition.
Yeah.
Same competition. And that's the beauty of it. If you don't come to play every game, football, basketball, run track, whatever, they will expose you. So that's the good thing. I love the competition.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk about some of your guys here. You mentioned Amari. He gets a lot of headlines. He's one of the best players in the city. You've had some college folks come in and to kind of watch you guys practice and all that and work out. He's a junior. How good are we talking with whatever you want to say about him?
I think he is one of the most electric type of players in the city where he can score in bunches and he brings that excitement. He's explosive. We're still fine tuning some things that, if he wants to be big time player, he's got to fine tune, on the defensive end. I talked about this with him all the time. Like, offense is great. I said, but if you look across the nation, every team that's in the top 21 to 20 or the 25, everybody's going to play defense. Everybody. You can't get away, I'm an offense player. Not anymore. You have to play defense or you're not going to play. And so we're really fine-tuning on his off-ball defense. He's athletic enough to do it. He just sometimes we are in that, I guess, what we get to those old habits of, I can just take off a little bit. You can't do that. And so that's what we're working on. But he got a great upside. Like I said, he's a junior. He's getting better each and every day, and that's a good thing. When you have one of your better players starting to go hard, it makes it easy to coach.
Yeah, you don't want to give up as many points as they score on the other end.
Absolutely.
That cancels each other out. You mentioned Conor Gant. I think a lot of him know his family really well. Mm-hmm. He's kind of coming into his own, and this is a good opportunity for him as a senior.
Conor is one of I compared him. I had a great player my first couple of years there, Pat Irish. That Pat could do anything. He could bring the ball down. He could go guard the point guard and go back in the post and beat up the post player. Gant has some of those same qualities, and that's what I told him. I said that's what we need you to play and how to play. In order for us to be successful, we have to have that guy that does those intangible things. I'm diving on the floor. I'm taking that charge. I'm going down and get a tough bucket. I got to go rebound. And he brings that to the table. And so very excited about him. Very, very excited. And if he plays like I know he can play, we'll be successful this year.
And you mentioned Hayden Bradley. He's an enormous individual. I mean, when you get up next to him, it's like he belongs on a football field. He belongs, at first base in baseball or DH or something. He's just really put together. Kind of take me through his skill set and your expectations there.
When you see Hayden, like you said, colossal of a kid. He's got great footwork. He has a skill that he can step out 10, 15 feet, and he plays back to the basket. The only thing that we have that we don't see eye to eye, he's not mean enough. And we talk about this again when I went into home with his family. That's one of the things we talked about. If he gets to the point where he just decides I'm the best man in the post, it's going to be very hard to stop him. He has to get to that mindset, and we're working on that. Take you through last year. Kid is so nice, and parents brought him up great. So nice. We're playing a game. He knocks a kid down. He stops and picks the kid up. I'm like, keep going. We'll stop at the whistle, But he's one of those type of kids. But we're working on him, and he's doing, like I said, he's doing some great things for us. He's that presence we need. We just need for him to demand it and be more physical.
Were you? How mean were you?
I come off with a smile.
Yeah, because you do, because you're the nicest guy ever, man. But I remember back in Reunion Arena and some of the Southwest Conference tournaments, you would, you're like scratching and clawing, and not like you walk on the court one way, when you walk off the court, you're another. I got to flip the switch because I could ask you about so many of these guys. We don't have all that time, and we'll do this again here before the season starts. But has Will Flemons ever gotten a technical?
I got a technical in high school.
Oh, as a player?
As a player.
Oh, okay, but never as a coach?
Never as a coach.
Okay.
Never as a coach. As a player, you know how you get to that point where you're trying to pump the crowd and you're dunking it and you see a ref sneak out there and you dunk it and then you turn around, you see the
you can't dunk in warm-ups.
You can't dunk in warm-ups.
You can't touch the rim in warm-ups.
Never anything like pushing or doing that or losing my cool. Never anything like that.
Have you gotten close as a coach at all, or do you just never cross that line?
I get to a point where I never try to call out an official, but I'll bring him in close. I'm like, man, you butchered that one. Never out of and they'll tell me, hey, yeah, and they're like, no, Will, you missed that one. I'm like, okay, I may have.
Yeah.
I try to make sure that that conversation. Hey, they're most of these refs that refs for, they got a 9-to-5 job. They're doing something that they enjoy. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to take that away from them. But if it's something I disagree with, I'll disagree. The same thing with them.
Favorite pregame routine? Is there anything you do before a game that you like religiously that you just?
When I played, I always had to have a Snickers bar and a Sprite. Okay. As a coach, I absolutely, when you see me out there, and my head's usually down because I hate watching our kids warm up. Hate it. Absolutely. Because you always want to have that sweat going, and they got to be out there cool because they got to look good for the fan. And I'm sitting there going,
and a lot of times you play how you warm up.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
Yeah, I always I try to teach that in my house for sure. Like no blasé during the. Let's see. Do you watch a lot of NBA and college?
A lot of college.
A lot of college. Like who in particular? I mean, I'm sure you watch a lot of the Red Raiders, but is there anybody else's style or scheme or a head coach out there that you're kind of like, man, I try to pull a lot from them?
Virginia's defense.
Oh,
couple years.
Tony Bennett.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I mean,
suffocating.
Just suffocating, and they're physical. And everybody, when a shot goes up, they're blocking out. They're going to the boards, and that shows you how disciplined they are. I love the way that Tech, Coach Adams, everything at a screen they switch.
Switch from 1 to 5.
Switch 1 to 5. Every once in a while you got to be very careful, especially because we have that size difference. He can get away with it at college, but if you continue to switch at the high school level, they're going to pick out those mismatches. We may have a 5'6" guy on a 6'5". That's not very good. So so we have to make sure you understand. We try to switch position-wise. If it's guard to guard, switch for steal. If it's not, bump and let them slide through, because we don't want to get that mismatch where we put our kids at a disadvantage.
Should high school basketball have a shot clock?
If they're expiring to get to the next level, I really think it does. I'm glad it's not here yet
Gotcha.
because right now when we get the lead, we're gonna make you come out, and then we're gonna pick you apart as far as cut, pass and cut, pass and cut. But if we are trying to go to that next level to help our kids, we're gonna have to have
Have
one.
one. Yeah, and I know there's so many people that
Oh, yeah.
believe, I just hate watching it sometimes in high school.
Yeah.
People they just sit on it, and it's
Pulling out to
frustrating.
half court, yeah.
Exactly. It's frustrating. Well, this was a lot of fun, and I could sit here and talk to you for 2 or 3 hours because I'm a basketball guy. You know this, and love coming in y'all's basketball dungeon over at the high school and sitting there and talking to you and Coach Reich. But and I will tell you, I want to make sure that we pass this along. On October 1st, people can come buy season-long passes
Yes.
to watch all high school games, basketball-wise. And it's $35, and you can get them at the admin office, which is where we're taping this now. They're $35. You can buy them online or come straight to the admin office and buy them, and you can get into as many games as you want at any classification as far as Cooper's High School, so the freshman, the JV, and your varsity guys and all that stuff. But basketball season will be here pretty quick. And I know that we're in the midst of football here and all that, but basketball is going to be here right there the 1st of November.
It really is.
So, so there you go. So this is Will Flemons, again, at Basketball LCP. You can follow. They've got some great content on there, and you can follow all their games on YouTube and all that and stream it. And I'll be trying to help commentate some and looking forward to that. So, Coach Flemons, appreciate the time, brother. There
Thank
he
you
is.
very much.
Handle hard better out there. There we go. Appreciate it. That's another edition of Pirate Talk. And also thank you to Colton Coons for putting this thing together.